I have mastered the elements 1,000 times in 1,000 lifetimes. Now, I must do it once again. You will teach the Avatar firebending.
One of the coolest things about the Avatar universe is that the Avatar isn't just a single person. It's a cycle that's been going on for thousands of years. Each new Avatar carries the same duty, but how they live up to that role can be very different. Some left their mark on history in huge ways, while others didn't shine quite as bright. What makes it tricky is that we only really get to see a handful of them in action. Between the shows, comics, and novels, we only know the details of about 8 avatars, and while they all share the ability to bend every element, that doesn't mean they're equally skilled or equally impactful. So in this video, I'm ranking the avatars we actually know, placing them from A through D based on their bending ability, their influence, and the moments that proved what they could do. Let's get into it.
I'm ready.
As I mentioned earlier, we'll be placing each avatar into 4 tiers. At the very top is the legendary tier, reserved for avatars who truly defined greatness through bending mastery, lasting legacy, and unforgettable feats. Just below that is the great tier, for those who were powerful and influential, but not quite on that legendary level. Then we have the decent tier, made up of capable avatars who had their moments, but didn't dominate in the same way. And finally, there's the modest tier, where we place the ones who simply didn't measure up compared to the rest.
So starting at the bottom, the first avatar in the modest tier has to be Salai.
The truth is, we know almost nothing about them. Their era, their nation, their element, and even their accomplishments are lost to history. What's interesting, though, is that they're still remembered in passing as one of the greats, which makes it a bit strange. But with no real details about what they achieved, it's hard to rank them higher. Also sitting in the modest tier is Avatar Gun. We know even less about him except for one tragic story. He was said to be haunted by the loss of a close friend during a tsunami, after reportedly failing to hold it back. That moment pushed him to step away from his role for a time, before eventually returning to duty. It's a somber piece of history, but unfortunately, that's all we've got on him. Kicking off the C tier is Avatar Sito. He's a really unique case, not because there's no information on him, but because of the way he chose to live as the Avatar. Instead of embracing the traditional role, Sito took up a low-level government job in the Fire Nation and eventually worked his way up to become the Fire Lord's Grand Advisor. Rather than fight battles, he believed he could help people through diplomacy and politics. That said, Sito wasn't just a politician. In fact, the one time we see him in the series is unforgettable. He's the very first character to ever display lava bending, and he does it by controlling 4 volcanoes at once. To me, that's a pretty insane feat. Next in the C tier is Avatar Kuruk. Out of all the avatars, his story might be the most tragic. History remembers him as careless and ineffective, but what people didn't see was that he spent much of his life fighting dark spirits. Every battle in the spirit world chipped away at him, leaving scars no one else could understand. Still, Kuruk was a powerful waterbender. He once surfed an enormous wave and even destroyed an entire uninhabited island while struggling to master his power. It's heartbreaking to think about what he carried alone. And on a serious note, Kuruk's struggles always remind me how important it is to talk about what we're going through. If you're dealing with depression or heavy emotions, please reach out to someone. You don't have to carry it alone, and there's no shame in reaching out. The last avatar in the C tier is the very first one. See what I did there? Anyway, we didn't know his story until the Legend of Korra finally revealed it. Wan showed us how the Avatar cycle began, and his journey is legendary in its own right. He started with firebending, which he misused at first, but over time, with help from the spirits, he grew wiser. He later formed a bond with Rava, the spirit of light, which allowed him to master the other elements and eventually defeat Vatu, the spirit of darkness. While his legacy is incredible, Wan's biggest limitation is that he was the first. He didn't have the guidance of past lives or a cycle to draw wisdom from. He had to figure everything out on his own, and that lack of accumulated knowledge puts him in this tier compared to later avatars. Before we continue, do me a quick favor. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more Avatar content.
Fire!
Avatar Roku.
The first avatar in the B tier is Roku. He's the first past avatar we meet in the series, appearing as Aang's guide and mentor throughout Avatar: The Last Airbender. Roku's spirit shows up multiple times to help Aang, starting with the Fire Temple on Crescent Island.
Roku wasn't perfect, though. He struggled a lot with waterbending, and even the avatar state gave him trouble. It actually took him 5 months just to enter it for the first time, and when he did, he completely lost control, destroying the top half of the fire temple and triggering a volcanic eruption nearby. Not exactly the smoothest first try, but Roku did grow into a powerful bender. He mastered all the elements, casually handled Sozin in their confrontation, literally melting through the palace floor before wiping out an entire wing of the Fire Nation palace with a wave of airbending. That said, I can't help but think he dropped the ball. He had the chance to end Sozin before things got out of hand. If he'd acted differently, maybe the 100-Year War would never have happened. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
I'm sparing you, Sozin. I'm letting you go in the name of our past friendship. But I warn you, even a single step out of line will result in your permanent end.
I am Avatar Yang Chen, young airbender.
Avatar Yang Chen. The monks always taught me that all life is sacred, even the life of the tiniest spiderfly caught in its own web.
Yes, all life is sacred.
I know, I'm even a vegetarian.
Next is Avatar Yang Chen, or the Great Yang Chen as history remembers her. Born among the air nomads, she had an incredibly strong spiritual connection, one that sometimes felt like a burden. On one visit to the spirit world with her closest friend, only Yang Chen returned, an event that weighed heavily on her for the rest of her life. You'd think, being an air nomad, Yang Chen would lean fully into pacifism, but that wasn't the case. She knew when to stand firm, even if it meant extreme measures. She mastered all 4 elements quickly and was called to action just a week later when she faced the powerful spirit, General Old Iron. Their clash lasted all night until Yang Chen managed to end it peacefully. Her bending skill was extraordinary. Her airbending was so refined that people say she could alter the weather itself. That's why Yang Chen's remembered as one of the greatest avatars. She found the balance between spirit and strength and left behind a legacy of peace that lasted for generations. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the legendary tier. The first avatar here is Korra.
Korra, please come in here.
Avatar, you gotta deal with it!
Out of every avatar we know, only Aang and Korra discovered their identity before turning 16. Aang was told because of the coming war, but Korra figured it out herself at just 4 years old by bending 3 elements on the spot. Even though she was naturally gifted, what really defined Korra was how she overcame her weaknesses. She struggled with airbending and with her spiritual connection, but pushing past those challenges led to some of her greatest accomplishments. Korra bent pure spiritual energy strong enough to level Republic City, and even opened a new spirit portal. Thanks to her quick mastery of airbending, she was the only one Amon couldn't completely take down, even after he stripped her bending. And while spirituality didn't come easy to Korra, Korra eventually became the avatar who united humans and spirits better than anyone before her. On top of that, she's incredibly tough. Korra could lift grown adults with one hand, carry groups of people in her arms, and became the first avatar to learn metal bending. Most impressively, she managed to defeat a freed Vatu by transforming herself into a massive spirit version of herself. Korra went up against some of the most dangerous villains the Avatar world has ever seen, and no matter how dark things got, she always came out on top.
Got an idea about who I am now, chumps?
Following Korra, we've got Avatar Aang, the Last Airbender. Well, not the last anymore, but you get the idea. Aang became the youngest airbending master of his time at just 12 years old, and when the world needed him most, he went on to learn water, earth, and fire in less than a year. On top of that, he unlocked the rare ability of energy bending from the lion turtles, using it to defeat Fire Lord Ozai and later to restore bending to others. Beyond that gift and his mastery of the elements, Aang's raw power really shows when he enters the Avatar state. At his peak, it's like watching a natural disaster given form. Yet what makes him remarkable is his ability to control that power and restrain it, even taking away Ozai's bending instead of ending his life. His compassion and respect for life made him one of the strongest avatars, not just in ability, but in spirit. And his accomplishments didn't stop with the war. Aang forged bonds with the spirits. He made difficult choices when the balance between humans and spirits was at risk. Alongside Fire Lord Zuko, he rebuilt what was broken, founding the United Republic of Nations, a place where people from every nation, benders and non-benders alike, could finally live together in peace. That's not just power, that's a legacy worthy of a legendary tier.
I can't believe a year ago my purpose in life was hunting you down. And now...
And now we're friends.
Yeah, we are friends.
I can't believe a year ago I was still frozen in a block of ice. The world's so different now.
And it's gonna be even more different. We'll rebuild it together.
The final avatar in the legendary tier is Avatar Kyoshi. Kyoshi was nothing short of overpowered. She was known as a merciless force of nature, and with that strength, she accomplished some of the most remarkable feats in Avatar history. When Father Glowworm resurfaced after being consumed by Yoon, Kyoshi was forced into one of her toughest battles. It took everything she had to put an end to both her old friend Yoon and Kuruk's ancient foe at the same time. Before that final confrontation, she trained for a month under a healer named Atuat, mastering advanced waterbending techniques, including how to lower the body's temperature to slow down death itself. Kyoshi's legacy only grew from there. She crushed the deadly Yellow Neck Uprising, established the Kyoshi warriors and the Dai Li, and brought down Qin the Conqueror by literally splitting her homeland into what we now know as Kyoshi Island. She even discovered a way to slow her own aging, which explains how she lived to an incredible 230 years old. Avatar Kyoshi was a warrior, a leader, and a living legend whose name still carries weight centuries later.
Kyoshi stayed out of the war so far, and we intend to keep it that way.
This island is named for Kyoshi? I know Kyoshi.
Ha! How could you possibly know her? Avatar